Good morning, Suranga.
Good morning, Samant.
We are missing you at this MI Summit 12 in Colombo, but I'm personally proud, as a country, we are proud that you are showcasing Sri Lanka more than your company at a global scale in UK. Would you like to say something about that? The large audience would be interested.
First of all, my deepest apologies for not being there in person. I really wanted to. But this session, I think, was important to us as a whole, as you said, for the country as well. So it's a forum on responsible sourcing and ethical trade happening in London on the 19th and the 20th, and I'm one of the 25 odd speakers there. So it's a subject that's very close to my heart, ethical sourcing, and I think it's a privilege and it's an honor to be presenting our story and also Sri Lanka's story and Sri Lankan people, about Sri Lankan people, which we're going to touch about today as well, I guess. So I think it's a blessing that I'm able to do both a little bit, virtually here and then personally, physically in the UK.
Wonderful. Anyway, we don't miss you, at least virtually.
Yes, I'm looking forward to connecting at least at the panel discussions, or I'll be available for questions.
Excellent. So, while congratulating you, Suranga,
Thank you.
I would like to ask, in this MI Summit, the whole theme is all about bringing the management expected for Sri Lanka, maneuvering and leading.
Yeah.
So this is a session 2. But I have listened to you. I have been very much exploring the line that you are developing, this export complexity index, how it is value significant. If any company, industry or Sri Lanka as a whole, like if you are not focusing on that, we can't find the X factor. I'm sure you have something to share with that.
Exactly. It has been my belief since at least 2017, 2018. You and I have been talking about it several times, but inside the business and also outside of it at many conferences, we've introduced the concept of following the export complexity index. But I haven't really seen much being done or much being spoken about it. Maybe we are at fault as well. So export complexity index is something the Harvard Growth Labs have been, publishing, carrying out for about 2 decades now. It's very, very useful if you kind of dig deep into it and try to understand how those calculations and rankings are done, and then what you can take out of it. Simply put, it's a measure. If you look at a country level, it measures countries of the world on the level of differentiation and sophistication, which they believe leads to a form of complexity. And then when you have high exports complexity based out of high differentiation and high sophistication, the country is able to stand out in relation to others, and then it directly connects with things like your per capita income or the country's income level as a whole, and the product level contribution the country has basically towards its growth. And it also focuses very much on differentiation, innovation, and talks about related differentiations and unrelated differentiations. It matters a lot, if you kind of really dive deep into it. We did for the last so many years, and we kind of, used that and adopted some of the principles in our business as well. Simply put, I think what does a country go through when you're overly commodity driven? And it proves the fact that ubiquity or omnipresence or commonly shared platforms, commonly shared product lines leads to trading down and pricing wars. And, that leads to countries staying, quite low in these rankings, and obviously quite low in the, whole development index, and the countries don't progress. The other thing is it also gives countries, when you kind of start playing around with that toolkit and, move things around, you're able to kind of work out what is best in terms of differentiation. Should a country get to related differentiation or unrelated differentiation? And then how would you look at new products being introduced, and what should governments and policymakers back in order to get the maximum value addition towards, especially per capita income. So the focus for me is, for me especially, is that we use this to prove that when your export complexity is high through high level of sophistication and innovation, you're able to transfer more wealth and knowledge across your value chain. So you lift the entire country up.
Oh, that's a fabulous thing. Wonderful. Brilliant. Brilliant, Suranga. I think that is very succinctly you have put it to the spotlight now. As you know, this is a MI Summit. The people are looking for insights. You are very committed to prepare a small note also for the audience it's available for them. Would you like to highlight these key areas which they should focus on? Would you like to concentrate on that?
Yeah, again, I'm sorry I'm not able to be there in person. So this is why I thought we'll keep the initial address short, and then, this note probably should help you all delve a little deeper. And, explaining this is a very complex issue, as complex as the exports complexity index. So we've, over the last couple of years, kind of developed a little model, and I think there is no rocket science in the model, but I think there is something unique in the model. It's a 4-pillar model, and this 4-pillar model is described in the note that's in your hands now. Has at the onset the whole planetary crisis, because if we keep doing what we do at this current rate, even if we don't grow, we will need 2 planets by 2100, and I think it might even be sooner than that because of the growth that we are seeing. This has been spoken quite a lot around the world and in Sri Lanka. So I don't think I have to go deep into this. But what we've kind of seen is that this whole planetary challenge poses opportunity as well, right? So we'll kind of look at it after I introduce the four pillars. So the second pillar is about again, another subject everyone's talking of, the Industrial Revolution 4.0, the impending 5.0. Is that a huge challenge? Does it pose opportunity, right? And then how would businesses kind of react to that? Is the second pillar. And the third pillar, which I think Sri Lanka has gotten wrong since decades ago, is the whole purpose piece, right? So we all call ourselves purpose-led businesses. We all think that Sri Lanka as a whole is a very purposeful country. But to me, I think this is our biggest weak link. So how do we repurpose ourselves and then, develop strategy and competitive advantage by doing the repurpose? And the fourth pillar is, I think, the most important thing for us Sri Lankans is harnessing the power of Sri Lankan people. So what we've created and what is shared with you is an idea that will be useful, whether we are a large exporter, small exporter, whether it's agriculture or technology, or whether we are traditional or new. How these 4 pillars can be redefined to bring out the export complexity. So for an example, if you look at the first pillar, the planetary challenge, yes, temperature levels are rising, biodiversity is collapsing, social inequalities are on the rise. But then there is also the opportunity, because when we repurpose a country like Sri Lanka, because we are never going to be a mass scale producer. Simple example would be, can we focus on premiumizing our offerings, whether it's services or even agriculture, to capture that top 10% of the global population that owns or that earns 52% of global income. And that has been shown as a systematic answers to the sustainability challenge, because if you refer to something like the Partha Dasgupta review, it talks about the pricing issue, the elephant in the room, that the global south needs proper price from the global north. And then the price should cover cost to biodiversity, damage to climate, and also, most importantly, paying proper price to social capital, which is not happening for the global south. So are we able to develop businesses that address these challenges in a way that gets us premium price, where the price includes cost to nature, cost to people? And if you look at the IR 4.0 or 5.0 pillar, we lift up the veil of ARs and VRs and AIs and IoTs. Inside that, we need to see it's a very social centric or people centric revolution. Now, this is what I try to explain in that note. Are we able to capitalize on that and build on authenticity, build on purpose-led, build on transparency, and then help us premiumize our position? So those two covered. The biggest weak link, as I said, is the third pillar, starting with purpose. And this needs redefining, because every one of us will say our businesses are purpose-led, but I argue that, I kind of disagree with that. Sri Lanka is not purpose-led. Sri Lanka doesn't understand what purpose means, whether it's nation branding or whether it's our own branding. We are very weak in that. So how do we repurpose ourselves in the light of the planetary challenge and in the light of the opportunity or the challenge of the industrial revolution, which we are not playing a part at all, because we are, I think, still at the second revolution level. I don't think we even jumped to the third revolution. The world is going towards the fifth. So are we able to repurpose our businesses, our country as a whole, and then design and develop strategy to give us competitive advantage through harnessing our fourth pillar that I kind of present, which I think is the most interesting one, and I'm sure you will also agree with me. that the fourth pillar, which I described as making social capital as our national asset, or at English Tea Shop, we call this as Prajava, the power of community, which is at the heart of the business, because we believe our product is not bought for designs or packaging or even the product itself or Sri Lanka's unique tea for that matter. It's bought because of how we are bringing people out to the front, how market after market believes that English Tea Shop is a people story. It's not the brand name. It's not organic. It's not the taste. It's most of it is due to how the people are empowered and how people contribute. Prajava to us means, I think that's the brand philosophy, and that's what we are known for. I wouldn't delve deep into it due to lack of time, and also because it's available in the note. I think there is a huge opportunity for Sri Lankan brands to use the Prajava notion. You can call it anything you want, but from our perspective, our brand is renowned in every country that we are present for, on one hand, empowering people, but not just as a brand as empowering people, but more so about how these empowered people are creating magical solutions, and then market after market, we have this conversation. When they come to Sri Lanka, when they see our brands, when we meet them, the one topic that we always start or end a discussion is, who are these people? These are amazing people, and we haven't seen such qualities, such productivity. And, so we don't use traditional metrics of productivity. And when we looked at the whole model that we had created over the last 15 years and where we've ended, we clearly see that our brand is known for our people. And then we tried relating that to Sri Lanka. I don't think we should be banking ourselves on Ceylon tea or Ceylon cinnamon and getting GIs on it and, tourism because we are a beautiful country. No. All these sectors should stand on its own and be unique to the world because of our unique people. And I think this is something that is terribly underrated in Sri Lanka, the power of our people. Our people are our social capital, but our national asset as well. So what if we use the previous three pillars, the understanding of those pillars, to repurpose the country by using people and empowering them the right way? Because imagine this, Germany has credibility for amazing technology, right? Japan is known for amazing precision and timeliness and quality and all that. What is Sri Lanka known for? Tea? Cinnamon? Is that what we want to be known for? Because these things might be gone, in a generation or two. So what is that unique ability or skill or capability that can foster innovation and branding, especially for Sri Lanka, right? This is what we are very, very fond of, and this is why I think the fourth pillar is the most interesting one for Sri Lankans. If we get renowned for, this unique ability of Sri Lankan, something like, leading with values, thriving on purpose, and, conducting things with integrity. And if every business can be known, every brand can be known for a special Sri Lankan identity that is common now. That identity can be common. Everything else has to be unique from business to business. I think what has happened is the flip side of that. Our purposes are common, our strategies are common, and we are trying to learn together and, execute together. But I think it is the Sri Lankanness that has to be common. It is the people's values and integrity and purpose that we need to harness and take out, so that our tea to tourism to services to even new technology that comes in benefits from that immense people branding, nation branding, the Sri Lankanness, right? And then build branding, because branding has to be the future. The leapfrog in economy cannot be done by being just a part of a global value chain. I know that's part of a big strategy for Sri Lanka, but that wouldn't see us enhancing our per capita incomes or national wealth or reducing social inequalities. So if we want a leapfrog, we need new branding, and new branding has a common element of it, which is the people pillar that I speak of. And then a lot of unique, features coming from that purpose-led pillar, the third pillar. So uniqueness has to be there on the third pillar, and that common national branding has to be on people. And that's what I believe will help Sri Lanka get a big leapfrog.
Suranga, I'm deeply touched with your more than pillars, because I'm sure you are very much known the factor to the audience. This conversation is happening at your premises. but you are coming out with a deep awakening message to all Sri Lankans. Hey, look, start, awaken, think beyond something like X Factor, which you are trying to articulate at this MI Summit. Having said that, now you want to get this out, and still that I would like to hear some like numbers or some key messages you like to share with the audience for them to take home as a final thoughts.
100%. I think that's a very good question, because I probably should have mentioned some numbers at the beginning as well. Now, what keeps us awake and worried is the fact that how come Japan stays at the top of the export complexity index for 20 odd years with a score of 2.26, which is like an extreme positive score of complexity. And how come countries like Korea, for example, leapfrogged 5 positions to come to number 2 position within like 5 years. Or 10 years, they've moved 5 positions up in 10 years. And how even mass scale producers, people, countries like China and India maintaining positions, relatively favorable positions and growing. The note explains their positions and their mix of product, and you will see them kind of changing somewhat of a transformation journey towards complexity or enhancing complexity with fairly decent positive scores. And what keeps me worried is how Sri Lanka is even going lower, because if you look at the last 10 years, Sri Lanka's export complexity have gone down, right? It's now a minus 0.24 according to the latest publication, which is very worrying, which proves that we are in a commodity trap, whether it's agriculture or tourism. And if we are to really move up from there, that to get that minus 0.24 to a proper plus score, and then get our ranking from the 77th position, if I remember right, to lower, a better ranking, we need this revamping. So this is why we think national approach is needed, and every one of us, whether we are a large conglomerate or a small and medium or a startup, we need to have that mindset of changing the score for all of our sectors and being transitioning from minuses. Our tea is at a minus 1.96. Most of our apparel are at minus 1.2 to minus 1.7, 1.8. There is only tiny green shoots of positive sectors that we have introduced. And I've explained this in the note, what should Sri Lanka do? And then the Harvard Growth Labs themselves recommend approaches. There is a light touch approach, which means do incremental changes to what you're doing, which is good for China, which is good for India, because they still can bank on what they have, their existing skills and resources and products, and go on. For Sri Lanka, they recommend a parsimonious approach. They are not recommending a radical revamp or a radical innovation approach, because we don't have the skill set, we don't have the capabilities, we don't have the training. So this is what is important. It's good to change, but you got to know how to change, because otherwise it's going to make matters worse, because you're moving from one end to the other end without having the right skill sets and capabilities. So parsimonious approach is less risky, but it involves some form of improvement for each of the product sectors you are in. We can still be a agriculture and apparel, tourism dependent nation. We can bring in our ICT, further, but then we can, when we start scoring ourselves for innovation, for sophistication, for differentiation, I think we will naturally lead to a growth path.
Once again, so deeply valued. Thank you so much, Suranga. Even though we are missing you in physical, I think we can catch you virtual there.
So that's the plan. So I think
somehow find time in midnight.
Timing should work for me. Yeah.
But your effort is not only showcase Sri Lanka in the world picture, and your message has a profound meaning for the country. I think that's the whole purpose of this the MI Summit, to take you through. I think this requires sometimes a longer discussion.
Thank you. This is hard. Explaining this very complex subject needs a lot of well thought out discussion, and I think I look forward to having deeper, longer, and better chats at forums like these. So looking forward to connecting virtually on the day.
Great. Once again, thank you so much. Deeply appreciated.
Thank you so much.